Welcome to episode 586 of the Barcelona podcast, brought to you by the Blue Wire Podcast Network. I'm Hilton, and I do appreciate the patience with this match review. I had a lot going on last week. I have a lot going on this week. I had a lot going on this weekend. Just things in the background, personal stuff, all that, yada, yada, yada. And clearly watching this Barcelona game against Girona did not help my sanity in any way. So I do, of course, upfront always appreciate the Patrons for making sure that I can continue to make these shows, the subscribers to the YouTube channel, and if you're not one of those, I'd love it if you were. And of course, those who listen on the podcast apps or are part of the community on Facebook or Discord. So I want to thank everybody upfront, because when Barcelona lose like this, and when it seemed like, all right, now that expectations have changed after PSG, after Real Madrid, let's just keep going down the rung, and I understand the frustration. As you know, this is more of a match review, the 5 headlines about the match, and it is about the big picture ideas. So I'm, of course, going to hit that this week, hopefully, in a podcast coming up later in the week. But for now, let's dive into the actual match, the 4-2 loss for Barcelona. Here are those 5 headlines. Headline 1 is open from the jump. I wish I could have watched this game as a neutral, because if you're seeing Eric Garcia at right back, and yes, he's had a very good season for Girona, especially in comparison to his previous stops at Man City and Barcelona most recently. Yes, he's had a good season, but you see him at right back and you're thinking, maybe some good things are going to happen. Barcelona went with, that being Xavi, went with a double pivot of Christensen and Roberto. Fermin Lopez at his natural inverted left winger spot that he occupied through much of his youth days. And I really did actually like Xavi going back to a midfield 4 against a team like Girona, who has such good passing sequences and knows how to attack you with the ball. So I did like that Xavi was going back to the 4 midfielders and trying to crowd out the middle of the field. And I think from the opening jump, it did kind of work. Barcelona was on the front foot. 3rd minute, Christensen goal comes already. Lamine Yamal, he dribbles back to his own goal, turns around, and Kounde makes the overlapping run. I guess that would be the underlapping run. I want to give him his credit, too, for opening up that space, because then Christensen, who had made the run through the middle, controlled it well, and an even better finish by who is, I guess, maybe the number 9 next season, because he can't play a full 90 minutes as the pivot, and Christensen, so maybe he'll just play up top. I don't know. That's obviously a joke, because before I could even celebrate a Christensen goal, Dobrik scores. Then a minute later, Martin with the cross in, and Kuparsi kind of did remind us today that he is just 17. So he lost the big striker who has arguably been the best actual number 9 in the Liga all season long. Lewandowski has had an ups and downs, but Dobrik, yes, Girona in about last month and a half, 2 months before that, yeah, Girona were having their results struggling. Dobrik wasn't the best either, but still, there's a good argument that he's been the best number 9 in the league this season. Araujo also slid into the tackle at the near post. More helter-skelter stuff at the back from Barcelona. 7th minute comes along. Kounde forces a save, and Daley Blind didn't step to him. And I began to count the moments with the shots as Barcelona were outshooting their opponent as to if they were to rue those opportunities later, what could I look back to and say, nah, they could have scored that, but Kounde just forced a good save here. Moments later, Lamine Yamal crossed in, and Fermin Lopez couldn't get it on goal at the near post. And at that moment, I wrote that it definitely does feel like Fermin Lopez's moment, because as I said, even at 1-1, first 10 minutes, I liked the setup that Xavi and Barcelona had gone with. Then the 15th minute, Gazzaniga saved it off the line on Christensen header off a corner, and at that moment, it really could have been 2-1, but Gazzaniga was up to the challenge. Headline 2 is Pep Gets Savio. Unfortunately, La Liga fans, because I did enjoy watching Savio this season for Girona on that left wing, but he's been wearing a Man City shirt unless City Group decide to loan him out elsewhere next season. I can't imagine he's going back to Girona after the season he had. I think Pep is going to try to make it work with him on that left wing. Maybe not as a starter, because of course City have starters, or they go 2 or 3 deep at every position. 18th minute, Tseskangov got a shot after Savio again gave Kounde a hard time in this match in the 18th minute. That really was the one concern, and the cross comes off. Then the 20th minute, Savio again beat Kounde when Kounde tried to usher it out of bounds, but Kounde did just enough to take him off it before he could deliver the final pass, but still, really worrying signs. Girona, by that time, though, had found the game. So as I said, I like the way Xavi, as I often give him credit for, I like the way he sets things up. But 20th minute, once Girona found the match, that's when the alarm bells start ringing. 26th minute, Lamine Yamal did well to play himself onto the counter, but put a little too much on the pass to Lewandowski. Another chance missed there by Barca. 27th minute now. Initially, it seemed like Barcelona were fortunate. The referee, I guess, could have called a foul on Kounde on Savio, though actually then we saw the replay, and he went through the ball really clear tackle. So maybe it was actually just fair for the referee to play advantage because he didn't have a good view of it. So that resulted in the play on and a shot at Ter Stegen anyway. So it works out for Girona whether or not it was called a foul anyway. And again, on replay, it's good the referee didn't actually stop play or give Kounde a yellow because it wasn't actually a foul. Headline 3, VAR does this job. That's not the last time we'd hear from the referee or VAR in that situation. 32nd minute, Fermin Lopez got himself into a half space, but slipped when he tried to bring it across his body. Another chance for Barcelona there. Moments later, good one with a header from Cancelo's cross. Cancelo crushed Eric Garcia for pace, and Gazzaniga again pushed it up over the crossbar, and Gazzaniga was good when Girona needed him. 38th minute, Araujo got a yellow for bringing down Dojbig, clearly grabbed him and pulled him down. Ref gave the advantage, and Araujo's issues continue. And I talked about him on the podcast of the meal last week, and I get the sense that I'll be talking about Araujo again on the podcast this week because I know he had some comments afterwards about Barcelona's mentality and getting things right. 43rd minute, Barcelona do up 2-1 though. Captain Sergio Roberto, he got a yellow for protesting that Lamine Yamal was fouled in the box. That's a missed call and a bit unfortunate for Sergio Roberto because Miguel did get a piece of Lamine Yamal from behind. He was on the line of the box or just inside it with his right foot. That was tripped by Miguel. VAR looked at it and overturned it, and Sergio Roberto for protesting was pretty justified. Then Lewandowski did his hesitated run-up, and Gazzaniga dove, and Lewandowski got him. So now it's 2-1. And coming up for the second half, I was pretty optimistic too because Lamine Yamal started the second half right where he left off in the first as one of the best players on the field, getting brought down and giving Girona plenty of headaches if Barcelona could capitalize. Headline 4 is Portu Punch. Unfortunately for Barcelona, I keep bringing up the moments that they didn't capitalize because obviously you know how this game ends. 49th minute, Savio snuck by Kounde again, who did not have a good match today. That's an understatement, but unlike Araujo, where in the last few weeks it seems to become a theme, Kounde, who had a really rough game individually, it did feel rather even between these two sides for so much of the competition. And Kounde really was the only one who was not having the best day. Araujo also didn't really have a great day. Kubarsi also didn't really have a good day. And I'm about to get to two other guys that didn't have a good day defensively. And then when you put all that together, because you consider how Kubarsi and Kounde have been in great form, while Araujo has been in okay form, and Cancelo isn't a defender, who I'll again talk about in a second, but you've been able to cover up a lot of cracks. Very much like Barcelona did last season with individual performances, and even some saves from Ter Stegen. But in a match where your back line individually has a bunch of errors where I can point to each one and say this moment or that moment, they weren't at their best, that's going to lead to problems. And to me, that kind of sums up this game. 56th minute, Cancelo stepped through the tackle with a counter-attacking rush. Cancelo, when he's able to defend on the front foot, yeah, it works out. It looks good. Lewandowski was right to be frustrated with him, though, for taking the shot and hitting the keeper. Either score that or you're going to get a talking to from the striker. Lewandowski is right to be frustrated. 59th minute, Girona gave Barca a few more chances too. Kounde and Fermin Lopez in the center of the field, and Girona just throwing bodies around to block those shots. And it was a good job by Barca, though, of winning the ball back quickly, being in good position for rest defense. And I was about ready to give compliments for Christensen and for Roberto and for Kounde and for that midfield for winning the ball back so well. But then 64th minute comes along, and Girona made some changes. Michel looked at what he saw, wanted to switch things up, and I do get at that point, up 2-1, why Xavi would be happy with what Barca were doing and not be wanting to make changes so much, but Porto, within seconds of being on the field, completely flips this game on its head. You could really call this headline something related to mistakes by Roberto and Cancelo, almost as much as you could talk about Porto and his brace. The 2-2, 65th minute, Barca didn't make any changes, I said, and yet they were the ones who messed up right after those substitutions from Girona, which is, again, not good to see. And that second goal really comes down to a Sergio Roberto mistake. He tried to go back to Ter Stegen, didn't get enough on it, and then Dojbig over to Porto with Kubarsi trying to close down the space, but Porto got there first and finished. 2 minutes later then, from the back, Kubarsi went to step, and Cancelo was upfield, and with Kubarsi now caught, Roberto pointed to Cancelo to mark up with Porto and get back, but he was already way behind the play, and Araujo and Kounde both went to Dojbig, and so the cutback to Miguel was open with those late runners, a deflection, and it's in. And this was just a comedy of errors for so many of the defenders where so many things could have been even slightly more organized, and Barca don't concede that third goal there. 69th minute then, Xavi does make changes now. Rafinha and Pedri on for Fermin Lopez and Christensen. 72nd minute, important save by Ter Stegen. Porto getting past Kubarsi, and the late runners into the box, absolutely killing Barcelona in the second half. The 4-2 then, 75th minute, a Portu brace. Cancelo caught ball watching and upfield again. This is a tremendous finish by Portu. All credit to the guy that has just been bouncing around the League of Teams for a few seasons now. And I'm not taking anything away from the strike either. On the volley with power, but if you're Cancelo, you got to at least make that a little more difficult for him to be able to receive in one touch and get that shot on goal. And I also think from that angle, Ter Stegen probably should have done a bit better on it. I know that there was a lot of power on it, but I think from that angle, I would have expected Ter Stegen to at least get some kind of piece, even if it goes off Ter Stegen into the net. Then headline 5 is too late for another comeback. Even at 4-2, you felt like Barcelona may have found a way back in this game. 77th minute, good build-up, but too many passes from Barcelona. For as open as it was, Girona didn't really ever truly decide to defend. Very much in their good moments and their bad moments this season, they go for it, and hats off to them. 79th minute then, Romeu and Ferran Torres on for Roberto. Lewandowski just, I guess, to change things up. 84th minute, same thing. João Felix on for Lamine Yamal, who really did have a good game today. But those changes, not saying a little bit too late, but those changes weren't going to do anything at that point because even in the 93rd minute, Girona are pressing, and Kounde saved one off the line too. It doesn't vindicate him for a bad performance, but it was a good moment, then followed by a bad one because he gets beat up the line and the cutback for Doibek, who tried to pass it, but Kounde was there. So Kounde creates the issue that he then rectifies by saving it off the line. And with that loss, Barcelona now find themselves in third place, and they also no longer control their own fate when it comes to the Spanish Super Cup next season because they are now trailing Girona by a goal, and they lost both those matchups this season. This is another big match loss for Xavi, and some of the reports about Laporta's, I would say after this kind of loss, justified anger because very much like the first drubbing by Girona and the 4 goals they scored the first time these two teams met, Girona is playing the way that Barcelona would like to play, and on paper, and especially their price tags with the transfer fees and all that, this Barcelona team should be that Girona team. You should just swap those shirts out and those results, and they should be who the other one is, even in the table this season. And that not being the case, it's another big loss for Xavi, but because he just announced and they had a meeting that he'd be sticking around last week, I'm almost at a loss for words. I think everyone's just a bit exhausted and tired, and I appreciate you for sticking with me because, yeah, now I have to say it real quietly, while Girona did book their place in the Champions League next season, that is what they were fighting for. The first time for their fans to ever see them in the Champions League, so they certainly had something to fight for in this match. And it also meant that Real Madrid were champions after this one. So Barcelona losing gave Real Madrid the title at this point. The only good news I have, silver lining, has nothing to do with the first team for the men. It's the Femini who took care of business and won their league. So congratulations to them. And congratulations to you always for sticking with me, for being around, whether you follow me just on social media or close Facebook group or Discord, or of course, if you're a Patreon, for as low as $3, getting these shows with on the YouTube channel or giving a good rating on the podcast apps, all that bit helps. So I do hope you stay with me because with this season already feeling completely over, that means I'm already going to start talking about next season. And I think in the coming week, you're going to hear rumblings about transfer rumors, and that stuff is all going to start heating up as Barcelona are struggling to get positive results here as the season wanes down. But now the second straight season, by the way. Most importantly, though, thanks so much for listening to the show. Until next time, we'll talk to you soon, and Forza Barça.